Today we're changing the fuel filter on this 2006 K74 L200, but first I want to show you how to bypass the fuel filter as a little bit of a get you home fix in case you end up stuck with a bad filter like I did on the side of the road. So first, let me tell you how I ended up in this situation. I was actually driving home from work early one morning, 4 AM in the morning. It was a danger fuel run, right? I didn't have enough fuel. Well, actually I did, but the fuel light was on, and it's notorious that the fuel light on these K74 L200s are unreliable at best. When I actually bought this truck, it never worked at all. I didn't even know it had a fuel light, but eventually it just started working now and then. Now it works pretty often, but the fuel light was on. I was leaving work. I thought, I've seen that gauge lower before. I've definitely got enough to get home. But I've got enough to get home. So I'm driving along on the M8 through Glasgow, and I can't handle looking at the gauge anymore, so I put some music on, and as soon as I do that, the truck starts to die. So I nurse it to the hard shoulder of the motorway, and I'm thinking straight away, I've ran out of fuel. So it's 4 AM in the morning, I've no one to phone to bring fuel out to me, so I'm straight onto the app to the RAC to report a breakdown to get them to bring fuel out to me. Didn't even look under the bonnet at this point. So waited 2 hours in the Scottish winter at 4 AM in the morning on the hard shoulder for the RAC to bring fuel to me. Maybe half an hour before the RAC arrived, I thought, I'll have a look under the bonnet. I'll open the bonnet just ready for the RAC coming, because we need to, you know, prime the fuel pump, prime the fuel rail, whatever, if I've ran it dry. And then I noticed there's some drops below my fuel filter. So I thought to myself at the time, I justified it to myself in my head. I thought maybe that's just happened because I've ran it dry and ran some air through the line. Maybe it's because there's a water separator at the bottom, and it's supposed to be self-bleeding, so I thought maybe it's just that. But lo and behold, the RAC arrives. He puts 10 litres of diesel in the truck. We get the fuel pump primed just by turning the key a couple of times. It's actually, I think it's got a primer pump on top of the filter, and as soon as there's pressure in the line, a little stream of fuel just jets out of the fuel filter. So we try in vain for a while to get this thing started with that little leak, and the RAC man actually thinks that shouldn't be a problem. He's convinced it's a secondary problem and it should still run like this. However, we don't get it going. So I actually ask for permission from the RAC man to bypass my own fuel filter. He's still convinced it won't work, but he says no idea's a bad idea. So we do that, and lo and behold, it gets me home, it runs. So I'm just going to show you how to bypass that fuel filter before we change it just now, just in case you are stuck out in the middle of nowhere with a bad fuel filter. So for those who don't know, here is your fuel filter on a K74 L200. Here's the engine bay, here's the fuel filter. I've got hoses off just now, but let's just pretend there's a hose on here, and there is a hose on here. So this is your fuel in to the fuel filter, and this is your fuel out of the fuel filter to the engine. Now the hose is tucked away here just now because of what I've done. Let me get you in closer to see. So this is pretty basic, but a lot of people aren't very mechanically minded, so this is just to point out what may be obvious to others, could help someone in need. So fuel in goes to here, there's some fuel on my finger. Take that line off, take off the hose that goes here, which will have been this, off of the fuel filter. You remove this line here, take your hose off of here and pop it to here on the rail. That's the further in of the two fuel lines here. I'm assuming this must be the return, but this is fuel to the engine. So running it straight, this hose has been replaced at some point, but running it straight from the tank to this line will get you running. Now if you don't have some sort of hand primer, you will need to crank this engine over until it pulls the fuel through. So slipping off this boot here and popping in some easy start will help kick the engine over a bit faster and get the fuel pulled through. Once that happens, you want to leave it running for about 5 minutes on idle, just to let it bleed any air out that it's drawn through from disconnected hoses. and that will get you home. Shouldn't run like that for long. Fuel filters are there for a reason, so just do this to get you home until you get a new filter, which by the way is £9 for a Bosch unit from Euro Car Parts. Not expensive at all. Had I replaced this under routine maintenance, maybe I wouldn't have got a hole in it. So let's get this out. Actually, forget what I just said about priming, because I did just notice that there's a little hand priming bulb on the top of the fuel filter of this. Never noticed, just a little black circle right on top. May not help that it's kind of, you know, obstructed by the intercooler on top here, but you can just get to it. I didn't realise that till now, so every day's a school day. Anyway, let's get it off. I'm going to start by disconnecting this sensor here, which goes onto the bottom of the filter for the air purge or whatever the hell this is at the bottom. Then we're going to need to try and twist this off. I'm going to try and use a oil filter wrench like so. Am I tightening it or loosening it? There we go. Okay, and give it a turn. Oh, there we are. That was easy. You can pick up these little tools from Halfords, it's £7. And let's spin it off and get diesel all over our gloves. I actually meant to mark where that leak was to have a look at this when I got it off, but too late now. There we go. Maybe here. So using the built-in workbench at the back of the truck here, I'm going to try and use the same method, a little bit gentler, to remove this little piece at the bottom here. Tighten this up a lot. There probably is a tool for doing this. I don't have it. Oh, that's all I've got. Is it enough? No! Time to get creative. Shit. Okay, I've got my universal tool here. Being very gentle with this. Just want it to grip it enough. There we go. So that's very gently on there, but there we are. Be sure to spill diesel all over the back of the truck, keeps it nice and shiny. This looks a little bit gunky, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean up with some WD-40 or something.
Good thing this stuff is so cheap and affordable. Right, that's nice and clean. Now let's pop it in the new filter. So you want to have a bit of oil or lubricant on this O-ring here, which we've just put plenty of on. Don't think you want to go too tight with that, it is all plastic threads. Next step is to fill it with fuel. This will just help in the priming process. Green can, but this is diesel. Nope. It's so cold out here, I'm already starting to lose my fingers. Right, let's try this. This is really heavy. Oh, let's use physics. Installation is the reverse of removal. Again, I've just put some WD-40 around the O-ring. And this is very slippy because it's covered in diesel. I am just hoping this thread is starting before I drop it. Oh, I wish I knew about that hand primer when I was at the side of the road, by the way. What an idiot. I just have no grip on this at all. Let's wipe it off. Okay, it seems to have gotten tight. There's still a huge gap here which I'm concerned about. Let's get a wrench on. Okay, so that is it in. There is little bit of what looks like a gap there, but I just confirmed by looking at the old filter that there is a little valley around the side anyway, so as long as that O-ring is seated, we should be sealed up. So next I just got to pop those hoses back where they should go and then prime the fuel. Okay, we've got all the lines back on now, which you wouldn't have needed to do unless you'd bypass your fuel filter. So now we're just going to pump this hand primer on top until it gets hard. Takes quite a plunge. Oh, it's quite hard now. Right, yes. I guess next thing to do is try and start her up. check for leaks while she's running. All looks good. I see you judging my intercooler repair. Do not judge. Very successful. Well, I'm going to let her sit for a bit now and come up to temperature again. It's been sat for a couple of weeks during what we had a deep freeze here in Scotland, and we've had some snow. So I've been waiting for the weather to get out and get this filter replaced. Wife will be happy to have her car back now. Don't forget to subscribe if you found this video remotely helpful, or if you just want to help support me on YouTube. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.